Yo, what is up, Sex Beast Crazy Rabbit here, and today I'm doing a theories video, and today's theory is one of my personal theories that I've sort of been working on for a while now, and it is, did Dr. Maxis know about Dr. Richtofen's plan? Did he know about his plan to kill him and go to the moon and everything? And a lot of people say, yeah, of course he did. Well, he knew about the plan because he had the rockets on the moon. But I like to go in a lot more detail and exactly know, how did he know? How did all this stuff come together? And that's exactly what I'm going to try to do for you guys today. So, first thing I did was headed over to Kino, and Kino was basically a place where Group 935 would show the Nazis all their latest breakthroughs in technology and stuff like that, and this is where one of the places where Dr. Maxis would take basically his stolen ideas from Richtofen and show them off to the Nazis. That's why the teleporter and the thunder gun and all this other inventions were here. And on Dr. Maxis' desk, you know it's Dr. Maxis because it has this little nameplate right there. On the wall behind it, it's this little poster, and you can actually read most of the words if you have a sniper, and some of the words are smudged out, so it's kind of difficult to read, but this is basically my best interpretation of what it says. It says, we in the, I'm pretty sure it says we in the blank, I can't really read that, both tubin and sarin, which is both very toxic nerve agent gases. If you basically inhale these or come in contact with these, you will most likely die in less than a minute, but this doesn't really have, my guess, doesn't really have that much importance of what we're reading. Then it goes on to say, be wary of the doctor. His, I can't really read it, but I'm going to guess it says indulgence, because it looks like it says I-N-D-U-L, and then the rest of it you can't really read. Should, if you want to make it out alive. And then, so, you know, it's kind of directing, so it's basically said, be wary of the doctor, then some more words, if you want to make it out alive. So, someone sort of knew about a doctor's plan. Would it be Dr. Maxis? Probably not, because it's on Dr. Maxis' desk, so they were probably talking about Dr. Richtofen. Someone knew about Dr. Richtofen's intentions. And then it goes on to say, we are unsure on how he arrived at this time, and then the rest of it gets cut off due to the poster, and it ends off saying, what you must blank blank blank. So, the most important part about this is that all that what we just read, and also the little date in the bottom. It does say it was sent from June 23rd, 1975. Maxis really, by the time of that, he should have been dead. By the time of all this stuff with Maxis going to Kino and stuff like this, was well before Richtofen had actually planned to quote-unquote kill him. So, my best guess is Maxis had some informative, he knew someone, or maybe he had actually unlocked the power to time travel. Maybe Maxis knew how to time travel, maybe he went to the future, or maybe someone sent him a message from the future to warn him, so who really knows. But the interesting thing about this is, I went over to 5, because I wanted to make sure, you know, I was really looking around for this kind of theory. I was like wondering, who is Maxis' informative, who knew that Maxis was going to get killed by Dr. Richtofen? So I went over to 5, I came across the same exact thing. The same poster that was sent to Dr. Maxis, but it was basically just flipped over and everything was reversed, so it's even harder to read. But the sections that were basically covered up from the other poster on Kino were uncovered, so this is basically the entire section that you cannot see from Kino, but it's all backwards, so it's very hard to read. And basically the only thing I can make out is it says, after it says should, it says be minimized, something like that. I can't really read this. I'm not really good at reading backwards. So basically, if you're good at reading backwards, I would go and check this out, because I mean the words are very hard to read. Most of them are smudged, and plus it's backwards, so it's very hard to read. But that's basically what I'm understanding is Maxis probably knew how to time travel. He had an informative in 5, basically the Pentagon. So Maxis maybe one was working with the Americans, or maybe there was an American spy in 5, and that knew basically he was unlocking time travel. And 5, basically, after the events of Darius, after World War II, they took all the inventions and all the 115 stuff and basically tried to reverse engineer it. That's why you have all this stuff. So maybe they actually did unlock how to time travel, and maybe one of the spies in the Pentagon for the Group 935 actually maybe sent an information back to Maxis so that way he could warn him, but maybe he didn't know the full extent of what Richtofen's plan was. So this is very confusing with all this time travel and everything. Why was this sent from 1975? I mean, even in the map when you play 5, it's only 1969 because JFK is still alive and everything. But it just makes no sense. Who could have time traveled? Who is this mysterious person? So here's the other part of the section that you can barely read due to the fact that it's of course reversed, and so you know during Kino when you're on Kino it's hard to read, but this is even harder to read. So of course, when was this sent? Who really knows? But the weird thing is, when you're in 5, you're in the power room, the same exact room where this poster is located. You read the little chalkboard, and it said, Edward, I know it was you, never again Sam, and also on the side it says H. Yenna, which basically in my mind stands for Harvey Yenna. So who was Harvey Yenna? He was basically an American in Group 935 who was thought to be a spy by Dr. Edward Richtofen. But was he a spy? We do know for a fact that Dr. Peter McCain was a spy, but Harvey Yenna is still up for debate. If you think he's a spy, if you don't, who really knows? as far as I've seen, we've seen a lot of rumors that he is, and a lot of rumors that he isn't. I'm going to go with he was not a spy. He just happened to be an American in Group 935. That's why Richtofen absolutely despised him and thought he was a spy because he was an American. My best guess would be that he worked very closely with Dr. Maxis, and maybe he was the one that actually accomplished time travel. Maybe he actually figured it out, because he was very knowledgeable about things. He did make the scavenger, or so we are to believe that he made the scavenger. So maybe he actually figured out how to maybe reverse engineer or maybe continue the work of Dr. Maxis. So maybe once Maxis was actually dead, Vienna kept going and working, and basically invented time travel, and basically tried to warn Maxis about what Richtofen was going to do, because maybe he didn't know the exact time and place of when Maxis was killed. He just knew that Richtofen was going to be the one, so maybe he tried to warn him and go back. Who really knows? This is very confusing. I'm doing my best to put all the pieces together, but this is as far as I got. Basically, we got someone warned Maxis from the future that Richtofen was probably going to kill him. Who was this mysterious man? Who really knows? But we do know that he has a connection with 5. So maybe Vienna was a spy, but maybe he did think of Maxis as a friend, so maybe they worked closely together. So who really knows what this is going on? My best guess would be that Vienna was a spy, or maybe he was a spy for. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was actually a part of Group 935, and he was a covert. He was a spy, quote unquote, for people in 5. So maybe he was like a double agent or something like that. He was basically a guy acting as a spy for the United States who was really spying on the United States, and he worked very closely with Dr. Maxis. When Maxis died, Vienna, tried to get time travel so he can go back in time to warn Dr. Maxis. And when he did warn Dr. Maxis put all the stuff together so that way when Edward Richtofen did take over on Moon, Dr. Maxis could immediately, destroy the Earth, so that way Richtofen couldn't really get all this stuff going. And maybe he went from there. He tried to do all this other stuff on Black Ops 2, and that's where it kind of gets a little sketchy. But my best guess was during Black Ops 1, where they were trying to head with this is once Maxis destroyed the Earth, he was probably expecting someone to go back in time and basically stop everything that happened. But, who really knows? This zombie storyline is very confusing with all the time travel references and stuff like that. So, I'm very curious to hear your guys' opinions. Go ahead and go back and look at Kino, go back and look at 5. Do your best to try to read this. So, if you guys could, please leave a like and share the video. Peace.